Bryce,
Hi
hi.
there, how you doing?
Finally, we got to see on Instagram. How you
I'm
doing?
doing well. Had a few problems there, didn't we?
Yes, we got problems. I was just telling the audience, I was just telling the Runhood family that we were already so good to go on YouTube, but then there was a technical error, so we have to move here. But hopefully, will be as much as exciting as we hoped before. Thank you for joining us tonight, this evening, Bryce.
For
So
sure.
you're in Jakarta,
Yeah, Central Java,
aren't
Indonesia.
you?
I'm literally in the middle of nowhere, 2 hours away to the airport, locked up here, completely
Right.
in self-isolation.
But it's a nice area, right? Like when we saw the video, it's a nice area with a lot of like greeneries, a lot of nice views,
Yeah,
yeah, to go on bike.
for sure. It's definitely it's full on kampung vibes here. It's not the city. It's nice views. It's also great for cycling. I mean, the roads are not too good, but it's definitely like a nice country vibe of Indonesia. Not like Jakarta or anything.
Right. Okay, we have a lot of
For
questions
sure,
already,
for sure.
Russ. I have a lot of questions for you. I don't know where I should start because there's a lot of things to talk about. But before we start, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? There was a question asking, whether you can speak Bahasa or not. So
Yeah, so I grew up here in Indonesia, jadinya saya juga bisa bahasa Indonesia. Nggak terlalu lancar, logatnya masih kurang bagus, tapi ya untuk bahasa like I speak Indonesian every day because I go to work and I speak Indonesian at work and stuff. But yeah, so Indonesian was actually my first language. So before I learned French, Dutch, English, I spoke Indonesian with my nannies here, and then yeah, I was
right.
it got into a point where I spoke Indonesian to my parents before I learned to speak French, Dutch, or English with them. So yeah, definitely like I grew up here pretty much with Indonesian language, and then yeah, slowly I learned other languages. But yeah, um,
Yeah. Talking, apart from the language, Bryce. Who is Bryce van der Post? We know you are now a triathlete,
yeah.
amazing achievements. But then, like, who are you to be exact? Like, how would you describe yourself?
Well, like to be honest, it's funny because like every year, more or less, I change, and especially these last few years, right? And if you look at myself now and compare myself to who I was 3 years ago, I was just a complete different person. You wouldn't be able to recognize me, And I think what really describes who I am today is just I'm incredibly driven, in one word.
Right.
And that kind of just that's the energy that fuels my day, my goals in the future, and everything I do kind of surrounds myself around that. But yeah, I mean, of course, I think a few people know as well. I did have a pretty heavy past involving heavy addictions and stuff like that, which I think brought me to the person who I am today. Because I think a lot of people would resonate with this. If you face adversity at a young age, or even just earlier, like a few years ago, and you overcome that, somehow you overcome that with tremendous kind of comeback and just with strength. And adversity kind of creates character and builds a whole different person. And I guess that's what happened to me in a way. So yeah,
Right.
I don't know if that answers your questions. I'm pretty bad at answering questions, but something like that.
No, it was really good both in English and in Bahasa as well. But then, like, what was your turning point in life? When was that when you finally, like, hit the wall, and let's say, and then you said it to yourself, no, I gotta change, I gotta be someone better. When was that? And then what made you hit the wall?
Yeah, it's a good question. So like pretty much, I went to 3 rehabs, right? And in the middle of the second rehab, which was a psychiatric hospital in the middle of Spain, we're talking about suicide watch, nothing but a bed, camera in a room, heavy on antipsychotics, and pretty much the government of Spain owned me due to, me being, the first rehab kicked me out for suicidal behavior, and I was absolutely just stuck in this psychiatric hospital, and I had no choice.
Yeah.
For all I know, I could be there for years, and that's when I was like, okay, I really fucking got to do something about this, because I mean, if I stay here, there's nowhere I'm going to go in my life. And my mom presented this opportunity to go to a rehab in the Netherlands, and I wrote I wrote a really great letter and I said, look, I really need to go. I need to fix myself. But at the same time, it never really hit me.
Right.
You know, and I went to this rehab and stuff, and so I'll give it a go. And in the 7th week, something amazing happened, and I was like, you know what, this is actually happening, and I'm going to give it a shot. Which, you know, progressed towards, you know, giving it a shot. And, you know, before I know it, I was 6 months sober, but I was still smoking 2 packs a day, and, you know, staying up late on my laptop and smoking cigarettes and watching porn in my room, just basically just doing everything I was doing, just without drugs. Right. And then I signed up for a half marathon. My friend was like, you know what, please, let's just do a half marathon together. And yeah, surprisingly, I was like, you know what, let's do it. And I quit smoking on that day. And I literally started running with skate shoes and jeans.
Sorry that I had to cut you, but that was interesting. So you were smoking as well, but so you were having a hard time, you know, trying to quit smoking, or?
Yeah, for sure. Like, you know, when I first got sober and I came out of rehab, I was still smoking around 2 packs a day. Ever since I was 12 years old, I was smoking at least a pack a day. It got heavier when I was like 15, 16, 17. But then, yeah, I was 19, I was out of rehab, and I was smoking 2 packs a day, and I really wanted to stop. I desperately wanted to stop. I tried 4 times, and the longest I would have gone was, I think it was 2 weeks, and that was really pushing it, but I always fell back.
Right.
And as soon as I really just signed up for this half marathon, I was like, you know what? I'm going to do it. There was a date, you know, March, I paid for it. I was like, there's no way, you know, it's done. I mean, I have to do it. So I was like, okay, I have to train, I have to quit smoking, and I have to get fit, because otherwise I'm going to, you know, fail this half marathon. So that kind of mentality, you know, that having that kind of goal in the back of my mind was just like, hey, this is the direction that I'm going towards too. So yeah, I mean, that's, that kind of was the motivation to stop.
Okay, but why half marathon? Like, did you run before that? Before you joined your first half marathon, like, was running your favorite hobby, or like sports?
Oh no, absolutely not. So I don't come from a running background. I was incredibly sporty at high school and middle school and primary school, you know, in Bali. But I was definitely, I was definitely not a runner or anything like that. I just felt like, you know, half marathon was something that was, you know, scary enough for me, because I didn't do it. It wasn't like a 5K or 10K. It was just like, okay, damn, it's 21 kilometers. It's not easy, you know, and I've never run it. Like, I've never ran in my life ever. So I really have to like do something for this. So yeah, it really just came out of the blue, and it was just, you know, it was a famous half marathon in the area. So I was like, you know what, let's do it.
So it's because there's a half marathon race in your area, and then you decided to finally try it out. And then what happened after that, Brice? So, you know, between your first trial in the half marathon and your first Ironman.
Yeah, so like, after I finished my half marathon, first of all, like, I crossed the finish line. I was like, you know what, this is, you know, it was an insane experience. I remember calling my mom directly and just be like, this is the best feeling ever. And, you know, I was gone into this kind of like, this like high that I was feeling, this incredible motivation to like search for the next race. And then I got onto this Ironman page, and I was just like, you know, shocked by it. I was like, you know, I really want to do one of these. You know, the distances were amazing, and yeah, it was just really intriguing. And then that's when I signed up for one, and pretty much trained my ass off for like 8 months, and then did an Ironman in Malaysia 8 months after, which was yeah, it was a crazy experience. I mean, just the journey itself taught me so much. It humbled me. It, you know, yeah, just so much things. But humbling me was one thing. That's one thing that sports did very well.
Okay, that's interesting. So in your first Ironman competition, you know, that was the competition where you felt that sports humbles yourself. When was that? When did that happen, Brice? Yeah, like, so, in what moment did you find that?
Yeah, it's good that you asked that, because it's something that I'm quite passionate about as well. And I was talking to a friend about it recently, and she said something like, you know, sport humbles her, because in a way that, you know, a lot of I was kind of an asshole when I was using drugs, and, you know, around people, even after drugs a little bit. I didn't really have something, but a lot of it came from extreme insecurity. So once I did sports, right, I was, you know, I started building a lot of confidence, because, you know, I started waking up in the morning, right, which is, you know, like if you wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning, you take a cold shower, and then you go to the swimming pool, or you do your run thing. That is, you know, you're respecting yourself. You're holding yourself accountable to wake up in the morning, which is great for self-confidence. You know, it increases your confidence boost, and just simple acts like that, you know, like respecting myself and being like, you know, I'm going to do something, as well as just like completing an extremely hard workout, or seeing yourself improve slowly, which is, you know, which is like, wow, damn, you know, I got up this morning, I did an awesome swim, you know, I kicked ass, and that's really just a confidence boost, and that compounds over time. You know, like every week you become better and you feel a lot better of yourself. And, assholes are, assholes because they're, they don't feel good about themselves. And once I started feeling good about myself, I slowly started to be more humble around my friends. And I remember my roommate telling me like, yo, dude, what happened? Like, you've changed a lot. And,
right.
And yeah, I find that such a fascinating topic and interesting subject in the world of sports, and especially endurance.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Brice. Now, going back, other than the life lesson that it taught you in the first Ironman competition, but I heard that you won third place in the first Ironman competition, your first one.
I did. So yeah, I mean,
how did that happen? Did you expect that?
To be honest, I started expecting it around halfway through the training, because I was looking at the times and I was like, you know what, this is very possible if I actually put an effort to it. I don't think if I didn't think it was possible, I wouldn't have trained so hard. I think that's definitely the case.
Mm-hmm.
So somewhere in the middle, I was just like, you know what, I'm looking at the numbers. I think I can hit this. And I told my coach, I was like, I want to qualify. Right. I told my coach I wanted to qualify for world championships, and this is really a big deal to me and stuff like that. And he was like, you know what, don't put so much stress on it. Right. But talking to my friend's a pro triathlete, and I was like, dude, I was counting calories to the point, like I was measuring the 30 grams of pesto sauce that I was putting in my pasta, and I was super obsessed with macronutrients and ratios and getting it all right, which was just way too much. But that kind of obsession that I had with drugs, I kind of moved into triathlon and did that full time. And yeah, the results were interesting, right, for sure. I mean, I came third place in my age group, and yeah, it just started a whole new journey for me, pretty much.
Right. So, after that, 2 years later, you mentioned that you got qualified for the World Championships.
Yep.
Did it give you, a better experience or better life lessons?
Yeah.
When you enter the World Championships, is there any new life motivation that you found?
For sure. I mean, qualifying for Worlds was a completely different experience. I mean, we're all good at our local races, but competing with, I think, especially Ironman, it's just, it's a complete other sport. We're talking about swim, bike, run. These are like, if you go to a world championship event like Kona or 70.3 Worlds in Nice or Taupo next year, it's just like, you're looking at like the top 1% fittest people in the world. These guys are like absolutely crazy fit. So, competing with the absolute best in the world definitely made me realize like, whoa, this is just completely next level. And look, I don't plan on being a professional triathlete. I love triathlon, but it's not my direction or in career path or anything. But it's just fascinating to see it's World Championships is a whole other vibe. It'll always be like a really great memory. And I definitely hope to qualify this year as well. Well, next year, because it's postponed because of COVID. But yeah, that's definitely on the goal.
Right. Yeah. Okay. But if you can give us a brief description or a brief explanation, what was your training like? 2 years getting qualified for a World Championships. It's not an easy thing.
No, for sure not. And I mean, I'm quite fortunate that I've worked with pretty good coaches throughout my my experience with triathlon, and I think that's really quintessential. I had someone to really ask questions and plan my workouts for me, and Ironman training is quite intensive. I've never done any run training specific, so I wouldn't know and understand the dynamics of a training plan. But with Ironman training, it gets really heavy into the end. I mean, we're talking about 6-hour rides followed by 30 minutes or to 1 hour run right after, and then following up with a complete 2-3 hour run on Sunday. It's really intensive, and it's just a lot of long and slow hours. It really tests your mental strength. You know what I mean? Sitting 6 hours on a bicycle, especially indoors, just because I prefer to go indoors if I do those long ones, because it gets unsafe here. It just really tests your mental strength. We're talking about 17-hour, 15-hour training weeks. You know what I mean? It's pretty heavy. True. You got to enjoy it. That's the thing. If you don't enjoy it, it's just going to be exhausting. And for me last year, I didn't enjoy it as much, to be honest, because I had a lot with work and stuff like that. And it drained me quite a lot. And it's just the type of sport where you really got to enjoy every single part of it, or the big part of it. Otherwise, you're just not going to be successful, and you're just going to be miserable. And I feel like that's my life philosophy for everything. You got to really enjoy what you want to do.
Yeah, but you know, like juggling between your work and then everything else in between, you know, because like I know that even though like you got a lot of achievements, you got a lot of goals, you know, in a triathlon, but for sure that this is not, you know, your main thing that you do every single day. What motivates you, Brice, to if you can like give us like three words or like three yeah, three words to explain what motivates you every day to train.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, that's the thing. Like, I do try, like, I have a big presence on social media and stuff like that, and people kind of know me as triathlon
Right.
junkie and whatnot. But triathlon is actually quite a small part of my life. I do focus a lot more on my work side. I'm just like, I obsess on high performance. I mean, I get up really early. I take cold showers in the morning. I train in the morning. I hustle all day. I work at
Wow.
school. I mean, I work at the office all day. I come home at like 5 when it's dark. I start my second workout of the day. Then it's like 7 p.m. I have dinner. I write in my book a little bit, and then before you know it, it's 9 o'clock. I don't. The thing is, I live in Jepara, right? Like it's not Semarang, it's not Jakarta, it's not Bali. So there's no. I don't really have any social network here. I don't have any friends here, which is personal by choice.
Right.
Like the people think like, oh, I feel sorry for him. Like I actually really, I'm actually really grateful for the fact that I'm here. There's nobody here. There's no bars. There's no girls. There's nothing to kind of distract me from my goals in my life.
Yeah.
And I think that's just like a real big blessing for me. So yeah, I mean, like I really believe in high performance, and there's a lot of like parts of it, but mainly triathlon is a big part, and of course, yeah, work. That's those are the really two main things in my life.
Right. Like motivation for you to train, but there's also, I'm pretty sure there's also one main motivation for you in life. There's one quote, I really like it, you said that you posted a question, how much are you willing to suffer?
Yeah.
Can you explain a little bit on that,
Yeah, it's how bad you're willing to suffer. It's so it is literally my life philosophy, and it goes a little deeper than that. What I really believe is it's not about how bad you want it; it's about how bad you're willing to suffer for it. And a lot of people they say, yeah, like I want to lose weight, or I want to win a race, or I want to become a millionaire, or I want to be an incredibly successful author and stuff like that, which is all great. I mean, it's great to have aspirations and goals in life, but with those aspirations and goals, you have to follow up with the work. You got to follow up with the actual, the actual hours behind it. I mean, if you wanna, for example, lose weight, which is a real common thing, people, want to do that, but
Yeah.
they're not willing to suffer through eating, healthier foods, or, exercising all those hours and stuff like that, which is, a quintessential part of it all. And I think that's the way I go about life. You know what I mean? Like I don't believe in motivation. Like a lot of people say, how do you get motivated and stuff like that? Like I'm gonna be honest with you, like 60-70% when I wake up at 5 a.m. and I take a cold shower, like, do you really think I want to wake up that early and do that? Like, no way. It definitely takes something out of me, but I don't depend on motivation. I don't operate on motivation. I don't need motivation to do that. I just literally hit myself in the face, and I just say, like, that's it. I'm gonna get up and I'm gonna do it. Like, there's no question. It's non-negotiable. And I think that kind of mentality just really brings that really brought me further in my life. You know what I mean? Because I stopped looking at like what feels good to do, but I just did it, and then I felt really good afterwards. And I think I think that's it's really helped me a lot.
Yeah, when you're talking about suffering, for sure that applies to when you start your sports journey back then in the past. But like talking about the present moment, the present times, how would you apply that life philosophy?
Well, I mean, I guess it's with everything. I mean, the question is, I don't think people say like, I want to become a successful lawyer or whatever they want to do, right? I want to become a successful businessman, right. But they look at the end goal. And this is what I look in my present life. You know what I mean? Like, I want to qualify for world championships, but I'm incredibly honest with myself. I'm incredibly real with myself that it's going to take extreme amounts of work and dedication, because it's not going to come, with anything else. So like, am I willing to suffer to get that goal? There's a lot of people on this chat right now that they have something on mind, and they're going to be like, I want to start this company that I've always been thinking about, and I want to do it. You know what I mean? But in reality,
Right.
they're scrolling 4 hours on TikTok and spending their whole afternoon doing nothing. You know what I mean? Which is kind of a reality check, because, you know, what is it that you want? You know, like, is it something that you really want, or is it something that, you know, it's just this kind of, yeah, I feel like, you know, you have to be incredibly honest and real with yourself. And I think that's how it falls into this whole, like, you got to be willing to suffer for it. You know, if you want to, you know, if you want to do a full marathon, right? Which is, you have to do the training for it. And a lot of the times you're not going to feel it. You're not going to feel like, you know, getting up in the morning and doing it. But, you know, then you're not going to get up to the fitness where you're going to be, you know, happy with crossing that finish line with a specific time or whatnot.
Yeah. Okay. There's one question already from the audience about motivation in life. There's one question from Daulah Zah. Who is the first person who inspired you to change or to reach your goal, or what? What's the first thing that inspires you to change?
The first thing that inspired me, it depends, because, you know, triathlon in the beginning was very much an addictive kind of dependent thing for me. Like, I really obsessed about triathlon in an unhealthy way, especially in the beginning. But I guess, like, the moment where I really started flipping myself into a high performance mentality, you know, being really motivated all the time, and you know, just being incredibly self-disciplined and hardcore with myself, is when I started reading books. And of course, there's going to be many books that fall under that line. But yeah, I mean, you know, reading books was just a massive part of me, and, you know, consuming a lot of content online, and yeah, just, you know, that I think, you know, people forget that, you know, in their hands right now, we're talking about, you know, you have a computer that was more powerful than that ran the whole that ran whole America in the 80s. You know what I mean? Like, if you have a question, you can literally Google it up, and then you have all the answers towards it. Do you know what I mean? So I guess I kind of applied that mentality and just asked all my questions online, started researching a lot about myself and how to improve myself. And I think that clicked and compounded, and I started getting more interested and stuff like that.
Right. You know, in your life, you've been through a lot of, like, challenges, hard ones, tough ones. But then for the time being, you know, this past few days, or like, you know, just this year in your life, how would you describe your biggest challenges that you're facing right now, or you've been facing it, and you try to just fight with it?
Well, I mean, that's easy. I mean, a big one for me is time management. I really, you know, all I need in a day is an extra 2 hours. If there were 26 hours in a day, it would be perfect.
If there was 30 hours in a day, I would be so much grateful.
For sure. I mean, look, man, like, I mean, like, there's so much things that I want to do. You know what I mean? In a day, you know, I want to work. I'm comfortable working 8 hours. I still have so much energy at night to do so much more things.
Right.
And it's just like that extra, and I also need, the thing is, you know, with triathlon, you also need around, like, a minimum of 7, but, like, you know, better to have 8 hours sleep just to recover from your workouts and stuff like that. And, you know, 8 hours sleep, it's like, you know, a third of your day already gone. Plus you have 8 hours, 9 hours of work, you know, and then you're left with a tiny bit to do everything else. So it's probably my biggest struggle that I face right now is just time management, getting it to the point every single day.
Yeah. Okay. But, you know, when you're talking about, like, challenges, and then, like, motivation, and then life lesson, you learn a lot of it from your life, and you've learned a lot of it from your previous experience. But who do you want to inspire right now or later on in the future?
Yeah. So, I mean, this kind of, like, falls into, like, the direction of addiction and stuff like that. Like, truly, I really want to, there's a lot of kids out there, you know, like, young people, I'm talking anywhere from the ages of 12, 13, all the way up to, like, 18, 19 even, that are just suffering from not only, you know, depression and addiction and stuff like that, but I really feel like that's something that I feel that I really want to make an impact in, and really, really inspire those people. And I know, of course, that there's going to be a lot of people that I think, like, that my main focus comes and falls into that, just because having, like, I think, like, personally, what I really believe is having the potential, right, to inspire people to change their lives or even save them. I think that's the most fulfilling act a human can have on an empathetic level. Because,
Yeah.
you know, if I can get to somebody who's, you know, 13 years old, and I was at a phone call with a 13-year-old kid. Her mother called me last week, and she says, "Can you talk to my kid? He's not doing well," and stuff like that. And I was like, "Yeah, for sure." And, you know, I spent an hour and a half talking to this kid who's, you know, suffering from major drug addiction. And, you know, after that phone call, you know, I was just like, you know, I really hope I got to him. And that's something that for me, like, that does not feel like work. You know, it's not a burden for somebody to call me at 3 a.m. to be like, you know, I'm struggling with something, you know, I need your help. You know, like, you know, that's something that I really, you know, around the addiction world, just because I've been through it and I know exactly how it feels. It's a really, really dark world.
Right.
That's really the main focus, I think, for me in terms of if I really want to inspire somebody, I want to make a change around that, around young people.
Okay, so young people, yeah, you think that they really, really need motivation on that, and they need someone like you know, to guide them and then to just motivate them. But talking about motivation, there's another good question here, Brice, from call me Han 2479. Okay, have you ever felt like this is it? Like, I don't want to do it anymore. When you got into that point, how do you handle that?
Would you mean like in drugs, like, you know, having that moment where I didn't want to do it anymore? Was that the question?
No, I think the question from Call Me Han was that, like, have you ever felt like where you got to the point in life, you know, when you were struggling so much and then you felt like you don't want to do it anymore, like you want to give up?
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. I mean,
have you ever felt that? Like, what did you do?
Yeah, look, I mean, I've had so many of those things. You know, I've had absolute complete psychotic breakdowns, especially in those moments where I was using a lot of psychedelic drugs, where I've completely lost myself and, you know, wanted to throw myself off an elevator, just off an escalator, just because, you know, I couldn't deal with everything that was going on in my head. I was just completely losing it. In my first 2 rehabs, I was, you know, self-mutilating myself, you know, cutting all my arms and legs open. I've got scars all over, desperately just, you know, trying to search a kind of intense feeling to kind of get myself out. And yeah, I mean, you know, that's what I was talking about. Like, you know, addiction is a really, it's another beast. It's just really dark. And I know it's, you know, it's a thing, you know, it's a subject that's not talked about a lot, but I do know it happens a lot, especially in, you know, and I think that in this society right now, it's happening a lot more than it was happening 10 years ago.
Right. You know, any experience, Brice, you know, in your life where you really like found someone other than the kids that you mentioned before, found someone that you think that really needs a lot of motivation from you? And what was the story about? How was the story?
Could you ask that again, real quick?
Yeah, have you ever got to a point in life where, you know, you found another person, you know, other than the little kids that you were telling us before, where you think that you really had to motivate him or her because, you know, you think that your life gives inspiration to a lot of people? Is there any other person?
Yeah, look, I mean, that falls into this kind of like experience I once had. When I was 2 years sober, I went into my clinic, my last rehab that I went to, which is a rehab which is between 13 and 23-year-olds. So it's really like a young kind of rehab for drug addiction. And I did my talk there, and I spoke in front of all these people, which is a small group. It was around 20, 30 people or something. And I just shared my whole life. Yeah. And I said, you know, I shared everything that I brought myself and where I got myself. And I told them, like, look, I was sitting exactly on that same chair. One of the chairs that you guys are sitting on, I sat on that exact chair 2 years ago. And when I said that, like, you know, everybody just, you know, kind of like flipped their mentality. And I think, you know, that was one of the most greatest moments in my life that I felt on an emotional level. And yeah, I mean, I guess that's the moment where I really felt like, wow, there's a lot of people that, you know, can actually benefit from the stuff that I'm saying, the stuff that I've been through. And, you know, these kids were there and they were, you know, they had their eyes open and they were just like, you know, kind of like flabbergasted by it all. And I guess that's when I realized, like, wow, this is really something that I want to pursue and kind of like get more into, which is when I started building social presence and, you know, kind of like, yeah, seeded a plant where I was like, you know what, maybe I want to do something, maybe write a book or something, which is where I'm at now.
Okay. Still, there's a lot of questions about motivation here. There's another one from Nizar Monza. Every athlete must experience a boring moment in their training program. So what keeps you going in your training beside motivation? You know, when
Yeah.
probably the question is about when motivation, when motivation does not motivate you anymore. Okay, what
Yeah,
keeps you going, Bryce?
motivation is such bullshit though. Like that's the thing. Like people are always like, like, oh, what gets you motivated? Or like, oh, I don't have any motivation. Like, forget motivation. You just do it. You know what I mean? Like
Mm,
people think that it's impossible to function or impossible to do a workout if you're not motivated. You just do it. Like, there's, a lot of the times where I really don't feel like doing a workout, I still get it done, and it's not magic. I just get on my bike, where I put my running shoes on, and I just go for a run. Like it's not rocket science. But I guess what the question is, and to have more of a practical answer around it, is
mm,
you gotta have a goal. I think for me personally, I'm a very goal oriented person. If I didn't have world
yeah.
champions behind my head, or if I didn't have a race in front of me, like I was like, that's what I'm training for, and that's the time I want to get for, and those are the people that I want to beat. It would be also very difficult for me to just
Hmm.
wake up in the morning and start running. You know what I mean? Like I need to
Right.
have a goal. I need to be like, I need to achieve this in a certain time, and I think a lot of people are like that, and I think that really kind
Hmm.
of eradicates the whole motivation problem in some extent. I mean, you got to
Right.
enjoy it.
Hmm. Hmm.
But yeah.
Okay, but talking about goals, right? You mentioned it before, right? What's your short term maybe and long term goals? It can be anything. Doesn't have to be like sports or like triathlon. Can be anything in your life.
Well, I'm going to go for the real millennial answer. So I really want to make an impact somehow.
Right.
That's my long term kind of goal. I really want to make an impact to a lot of people in any way possible. I think that's the most
Mm,
important goal for me, just because
mm,
it's something, especially around the addiction world and all that. I won't get into too much, but like that's something that I feel that I'm really passionate about, and something that I feel that has that needs and to go back a little bit on the whole addiction thing. Like I think it's valuable because I'm 20 years old, and the people who are in troubles are 18 and 17 and 14 years old. Like I was in a call two
right.
weeks ago with a kid that was 13, and I was just like, "Don't bullshit me, bro. I was there a few years ago." You know what I mean? Like I know that story. And I think a lot
Mm,
of people in the
mm,
addiction world, they're all like 30, 40 years old and stuff like that, which is really
mm,
difficult when you're, 18 and you're having a 14-year-old, 40-year-old guy telling you like, what's good or right. But when
mm.
someone's 20 years old and telling you like, you know, bro, I've done that and it doesn't work and you got to do this and that, it's just a whole different kind of vibe.
Yeah.
For my short-term goals, I just want to get my book done. That's that's my short-term goal.
The book, Bryce. Bryce, can you tell us a little bit about the book?
Yeah, so it's it started this early this year. I was just like, what, I'm gonna start writing, and it's just
Mm,
it's a book. It's not a self-help book. It's nothing. All it is just me talking about my story and my experiences and the things that I did and what I felt was really
right.
good for me, and it's just going to be a story, and I want people to find whatever they need in my words to help them live a better life, and especially
Mm,
around the addiction world and whatnot.
yeah. Okay. When do you expect it to finish so that people can read it?
The goal was supposed to be this summer, but realistically,
Right.
it's probably not going to happen. Best case scenario, end of this year, if not next summer, probably. Just because it is a heavy, and I'm working with several co-authors. One specific co-author from LA who's hopefully going to write it for
Mm,
me, or help me write it, co-author it. And yeah, it's just a tedious
yeah.
process, and I'm not going to let anything go out without having it perfect. So yeah.
Okay, right. Beside the book, this is just talking a little bit of your personal life. You're also involved in your family business. Correct me if I'm wrong.
That's correct.
Uh, that's a furniture business in Japan because a lot of people are asking.
Yep.
So that's basically what you do. Are you into woods,
Yeah.
what makes you involved in the business?
I'm incredibly passionate on furniture and design. It's one of the things that has actually came to me as I started working there, and
Right.
I don't care about any, like I'm ever since I was 12 years old, even much younger, but 12 years old is when things really started. I was very much a business guy. I was always trying to make money. I started several companies between the ages of 12 and 16, and it's something that I really was passionate about. And coming into a company, you know, which was, you know, pretty well known and well branded in the B2B furniture industry, and being there and looking at the numbers and being like, okay, like this is actual real life, and this is where I can make an impact. And I started, you know, just becoming extremely obsessed with the whole operations of a business, and which is what I do. I handle all the operations. And I told, like, you know, I tell this to everyone, like, I don't care about money, I don't care about nice watches or anything. Like, all I want is I want to have the number at the end of the year to double within a few years. I want to make an impact. I think that's my biggest thing. It's always me trying to prove something to myself, to be like, you know, that's the direction that I want to go. And yeah.
Okay. Okay, you know, like there's a lot of inspiring stories to tell, you know, and I hope that we can read the book as soon as possible, you know, and as well, but as well, you know, when we visit Jepara later on, you know, we can visit your workshop, maybe.
Absolutely.
Furniture workshop.
Absolutely.
Right there. One last question, Brice. Do you have any like last statement or like last sentence for the audience, especially the young ones, to get them going, you know, in their life?
Yeah, I think you know, something that comes really clear to me is that whatever you do in your life, just got to be, you know, just be incredibly honest with yourself. And, you know, what is it that you really want? A lot of people half-assing, and, you know, they do things halfway. If you want anything, you got to go hard for it. And, you know, things don't come for free. Whatever you want, like in life, whether it is, you know, completing a half marathon, just something simple, or, you know, creating a business and, you know, making a real impact in this world, you have to work hard, and you have to go, you know, you got to go nonstop and no days off. And that's the kind of mentality that will get you very far. And, you know, that's the mentality that I think is, you know, a good mentality to have. Of course, everyone's different, but whatever you do, I think you got to do it with 100%, all your force and energy. I think that's, you know, that's my 2 cents. And yeah.
Okay, Brice, there's a lot of comments as well coming in since like we went live the very first second. Can you give a quick sentence in Bahasa or in Indo?
Yeah, jadinya okay, saya
just a short ones.
Okay, jadinya untuk orang yang mau tahu kalau saya bisa bahasa Indonesia, saya bisa bahasa Indonesia. And yeah, saya 20 tahun tinggalnya di Jawa Tengah, di Jepara. And yeah, what else do you want me to say? It's so awkward when people say like, you know, speak Indo, but like
dan right, dan Brice punya TikTok juga.
Oh, yeah.
You're in TikTok, right?
Iya, juga punya TikTok. Namanya PECANDU.
Okay, we'll meet you in TikTok then.
Absolutely.
Brice, thank you so much for your time tonight. Thank you that, you know, we have an exciting interview and discussion here. Really hope that there's a lot of things to discuss. Really hope to see you again and talk to you again very soon, especially when this pandemic ends.
Absolutely.
Brice?
It's been a real pleasure. And yeah, for sure. It sounds really good.
Right. Thank you so much, Brice.
Thanks a lot.
Talk to you again very soon.
Absolutely.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Good night.
Good night.